So let's get started. Again, a warm welcome to all of you. So today we have got a webinar from the University of Maryland, and the topic which we are going to discuss is a very relevant. It's about the digital economy and the opportunities it throws, and how do you get prepared for that. So we've got an illustrious panel of speakers today, and I leave them uh, to take the webinar. But before we started, I want to set the context of why we are doing this. I'm not audible. I see a message saying I'm not audible. Am I audible to others? Can you just type? Chahat says I'm not audible. Am I audible to others? Yeah, Chahat, you might have to check your net connection. I think you are. I'm audible to others. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So I want to set the context why we are doing this at Jamboree. As you know, why we help students to prepare for their competitive exams like GMAT, GRACT, and get into the best universities of the world. We also want you to get an exposure to the world of business, world of entrepreneurship, and what gets you to get prepared for that. And as a part of that, we get professionals who are experts in various areas to come and speak to our students. And today is one more event in that series. So that's the context, and so we really feel that we not only getting you the exposure to how to crack these exams and apply, but also to how to make yourselves ready for the world which awaits you beyond these exams and admissions. So that's the context, and I will quickly move on to introducing the panel today. So in the panel today, we have got Poonam. So Poonam currently works as the VP of Global Operations and Strategy with Course 5 Intelligence, which is a leading analytics and research organization. Poonam is also a certified Lean Six Sigma professional with a Bachelor's of Engineering from Bombay University, and she currently spearheads the AI product development initiative across multiple industries. So warm welcome, Poonam, and great to have you with us.
Thank you.
Yeah. Then we've got Manish Bansal. Manish is Master's in Finance from the University of Maryland, Smith School of Business. Manish is also an MBA and a CFA. He is the founder and CEO of Value India Investment Services Private Limited. And he's also an author of 2 books, one on financial innovation, other on entrepreneurship. Currently, Manish serves as a managing director in India for Smith School of Business, University of Maryland. And then we have Shukriti Sinha. Shukriti has earned his master's MS in mechanical engineering from the University of Florida. He has worked extensively in areas of computational fluid dynamics and supply chain management and procurement. Then Shukriti transitioned his career to a completely different area, which is screenwriting, and served on the writing team of popular web series like Kota Factory and Humorously Yours. So warm welcome to Manish and Shukriti. And I'm sure students are going to gain much from your insights and your inputs. That's all from my side. I hand it over to you guys. Let's get started.
Hi, bosses. This is Manish. Brilliant to have all of you here this evening. So just to give you a bit of context of where we are coming from, the University of Maryland in India, I started the operations last year, and our objective is to get you something which is very concrete, which just goes beyond talking about the admission and the admission process. You know, some perspective in the business opportunity space and the life, so that you guys can think or rethink on where the opportunities in the future lie. So if you think about it, you know, I'm just going to take 2 minutes and then hand it over to Poonam, who is the main speaker here. If you think about it and see around, everything is changing and changing at a speed which was probably never imagined before. You know, I remember very distinctly when we had the CD drive, we moved to the the DVDs, we moved to now the cloud. Everything is on the cloud today. If you think in the stock exchange context, I have seen in 1992, 93, the ring on the stock exchanges. Today, everything is on the computer. In fact, the ring is absolutely silent today at Bombay Stock Exchange. There is no activity happening there, right? You would have experienced, some of you would have experienced that when you watched This Is Scam 92, right? Very, very interesting web series on the Sony Live. Now, if you see the shares, right? Used to be the share certificate, everything has become dematted. So just think around. If you see around, everything is actually shrinking to your mobile. Your bank is on mobile. Honestly speaking, I haven't visited my bank. I've been a customer of Citi for last 15 years plus. I have never visited my bank ever till now. I don't need to ever, right? So everything is shrinking to your mobile. And the more you shrink to the mobile, more you live the digital footprint at every step. And because you live the digital footprint, and Google, for instance, knows every step of yours, where you are, what you are doing, what exactly you are buying, every activity is known, every digital footprint leaves the data. And data means data analytics. It means essentially the opportunities for the professionals to come in that space of analysis, interpretation, decision making. And that's where we thought we would showcase, one very interesting professional with a perspective on this particular subject to all of you, so that you can have some sense of where the world is moving, and in that changed world, what kind of opportunities will emerge for the professionals in the data space, right? Today, everyone is talking about the language of artificial intelligence, machine learning, AR, VR, data analytics. Honestly speaking, I understand very little of it, and that's where we are. So I will leave it there. Let me have the privilege of introducing Poonam to you. Poonam is a very close friend, and she's a fitness freak, very outstanding neighbor, I must state, a brilliant professional at the edge of the technology. You and me only talk on the AI, and she's the one who is actually experiencing the AI. When she talks to me on machine learning and AI, I understand very little of it, but saying, okay, I understand, keep going is a very easy part. And she serves the customers globally across the domains. And I must tell you that most importantly, she's an amazing human being. So guys, you have a very interesting opportunity this evening to spend, next few minutes listening to someone who earned her engineering from the Bombay University and has been in this profession for more than around 15 years. And as Soumya ji said, she works as vice president with Force5, which is one of the global analytics firms. So I leave this platform for Poonam now to drive and share her knowledge, her experience, and enrich everyone who is on the webinar today with that knowledge sharing. Thank you very much. And Poonam, the floor is yours. Please drive. Thank you.
Thank you, Manish, for the introduction, and good evening to everyone who's joined us on a Saturday evening to learn a bit more about technology, how this space is moving, what's the future for digital economy. So while all of you know what's the context of the webinar, I just want to quickly outline what we are trying to cover. I know Manish kind of gave us a brief in comprehension as to what we will be covering today, but here is the formal agenda. We'll see how the evolution of the digital era has happened. Some of you know of it, but I'd like to dive into some details. What's central to the data economy today? What's driving the decisions? How is the economy moving? And of course, we will look at what are the career opportunities, salary ranges, what does this industry expect from all of you? So these are some of the things that we will cover during the course of the discussion today. So before we actually delve into the actual discussion, when Shubkriti and I were kind of putting the agenda together, it really took me back several years when I was exactly at the life stage of you making career decisions for myself. I think there were two things that prominently came up when I started thinking and going back or looking back, pondering on my own journey. One was at that time when we used to make career decisions, they were largely, I think, prominently dependent on two things. One was probably the family orientation or family background. And what I mean by that is a lot of career choices were driven by the fact that if your father is a doctor, probably you'll end up being a doctor. If your family is an engineer, you'll probably end up being an engineer. If they have some sort of household business, you'll be probably pushed into the household business. And the second one was, of course, depending upon what career choice you are making, it had to kind of lead to a stable income. So I think that was very, very prominent when 15, 20 years ago, we were making career choices. We didn't have a lot of exposure, or we didn't really look into the growth opportunities or how this economy is going to move forward, what's going to be next, and how can I be out there to grab or seize those opportunities. At least when I reflected and when I pondered back so many years, those were the two significant things that came up on my mind. And I think all of you are in a fantastic era today where information is literally on your fingertips. You need something, you can pick up your mobile phone and find out whether it's a fact, it's fake information. If you need to read about something, it's absolutely available on your fingertips. And I think there is a big change, or there is a big shift in the opportunities. There's a big shift in the acceptance of what people in careers want to do today. So say, for example, if you want to have a career maybe in sports, you're a great sports professional, there is acceptance that you can go ahead and do that. There is acceptance of you or the millennials being able to take the risk. We've seen so many organizations start where they were like literally doing something in their backyard or in their garage, and they've made multi-million-dollar organizations stand up today. So I think that's an excellent age or era that you guys are in today, where you have the leverage of information, you have the right exposure to make these career choices for yourself. So having said that, I'm just going to take myself back 15, 20 years and give you my own example. I've seen, or I've rather witnessed this digital era moving forward. 15 years ago, when I graduated and I was looking out for jobs, I've started doing jobs by actually taking calls at a call center. That was then, and here's today when, like you said, I kind of am owning AI-based global products, working in a global organization, supporting strategies and decision-making through analytics for a lot of our global customers today. So it's to reflect about how this digital era has changed. Some of you know, some of you have seen it. And when I was looking at the information available, I came across this beautiful infographic that actually talks about the journey of how this era has moved from 1991, when internet was a big thing, to where we are today, like I said, where information is literally on the fingertips. Like Manish said, he doesn't even have to visit the bank. He's never seen the bank. He's doing everything online on his mobile phone. So this was a beautiful infographic that I came across. And I thought it was important to kind of, communicate 4 key phases of this digital revolution, as we call it today. The first phase was the digital computing phase, which had just started kind of harnessing the potential of what is computing. That's when probably the first mainframe came, the first computer came. People realized that it had potential more than a calculator, because it was able to do bigger calculations, bigger processing, and pretty much faster. So that was what they call as the data processing phase. The second was personal computing. Honestly, whatever I have seen and read about in the entire digital era, that's when the real invention or the innovation began. That's what changed the way we harnessed the computing capability. So all of the garage experiments, like all the Apples of the world, the Microsofts of the world, they took use, or they actually exploited the potential of computing and have become where they are today. Then was network computing, where the internet connected everyone, and we realized that there's an opportunity not just to be here and what we are doing, but you can talk to the entire world at the same time. And that's when all of your Facebooks, Twitters came alive and literally changed the definition of connectivity, literally changed the definition of being social. And of course, we are in an era today where it's cloud computing, and cloud computing has been exploited by these big giants in a way that's unimaginable. We have forgotten things like storage limit, data security, just because everything's on the cloud. So in my view, these are the four key phases of how the digital era has evolved. And of course, with this evolution, there has been some impact that the digital era has been showing us. Now, what's that impact? Now, one would say impact is, of course, it's convenience. Like, you don't have to step out, you don't have to go to a store to buy your products. You can just be online at the comfort of your home. It's so convenient to do anything and everything you want to do just because of the digital revolution. Other things such as connectivity. The world is literally shrinking. You have everything on your fingertips, voice calling, video messaging, all of that has literally changed the way we connect with people today. Apart from that, I think these are all the conveniences that the digital revolution has brought in. But I think one of the biggest things that this digital era, this social era gave us was generation of lots and lots of data. Now, when I say lots and lots of data, I just really want to put this in perspective. We generate 2.5 quintillion bytes of data today. Now, to tell you what that means is, in the last 2 years, we've generated so much data, which is 90% of the data that existed across this entire digital era today. Now, talking about storage, today the world's storage capacity is about 205 exabytes of data. Now, again, to share what that means, if we have to take this storage and put it in CDs and stack it, we would go beyond the moon. That's the amount of data that we have in the world today. That's a lot. And what are we doing? What is this data? Why are we capturing this data? So this data, I mean, traditionally, when we used to talk about data, this data was facts, this data was records, this data was some reference or some inference, some analysis that someone must have done. That's all. That's what data was, and that's how we were using or consuming data. But with the digital revolution and with the birth of social and with the birth of everything online, data is literally anything and everything that can be captured. Now, any activity you do online or anything that you are looking at, browsing, engaging with when you are online is all captured. And it is captured by organizations for a reason. Now, today, organizations, apart from facts and records and references, are capturing all of the things that you can see on the slide. They're capturing how are you engaging with the website. If you went from one page to another, why did you do that? What did you look at when you were on the page? They know where you are through geolocation tagging. They're looking at all the images that you're sharing. They're looking at the behavior of what you depict when you're on the website. They know your buying patterns. All of this that you are doing in terms of activity or in terms of engaging with internet is being captured by organizations, and it's being captured for a reason. Now, the reason or the importance of this data, as you all know, data is required to make or to have informed decisions. Now, one would say records and facts is enough for me to make decisions. It's absolutely right. But I think as we have evolved in the digital era, we've made that, or we've made the data that we are capturing help us to make decisions better and help us to ensure that we are connected with the business in a better way. So all of that is used to make strategies. It's used to make decision making even more accurate than what it has been. Now, I want to give you a scenario, or I want to show you how this data is being used by organizations today. Now, we spoke about data being used as a key thing for decision making or to making strategies. Data is also very, very important when it comes to optimization. Now, I'll take an example of probably an e-commerce website. When we say optimization, if you know your north wing is doing better than your south wing sales, you will optimize your supply chain to make sure that your north wing is never out of supply or is never out of goods. Now let's take another example. If you have an online website, You know that whenever you have sales or you have these massive deals going on the website, your website usually slows down or it doesn't give you the accurate performance. Engineers at the back end are using that data to do all of the relevant optimization that they can do. So that's how data is being used in those scenarios of optimization. Now, let's take another example. The relevant data today is being built to better the relationships of your product and your customers. In my personal experience, I think this is a very new and a very phenomenal way of using the data that's being captured. Now, what I mean by better relationship with customers, I'm sure all of you have heard the term personalization. Whenever you are on Amazon, you are browsing a few pages, you browse, you move out. The next time you go on Amazon, it's telling you where you browsed, what you did, what did you like, what are certain recommended products that you should go for. If you've put something in your cart and after maybe a few days you go and buy it and the product has gone out of stock, the website is recommending to you similar products that can be bought because you chose a certain product. So this level of personalization is only possible for organizations to do because they're actually capturing every element of data from what you have done when you visited the website the first time, when you've kind of browsed through the pages on the website, if you've done some buying behaviors on the website. They're using all of that data to make it even more personal for you. Actually, talking about a real life example, when I was working for an e-commerce giant that used to sell laptops online, we could do this level of personalization only once the laptop was shipped to the customer's house. So imagine the time that has elapsed from any engagement that I could do with the customer. So the customer comes on the website, they buy the laptop. It takes about 10-15 days or maybe even more for that laptop to be shipped to the customer. But once that laptop was shipped, that's the only time we got the entire details of that customer for us to do any sort of personalization. And mind you, that personalization was not when the customer came back to the website, unless they created an account on the website. It was either through emails or some promotion cards that we used to send to them. So the time that used to elapse from the organization or from the product reaching out to the customer again, the customer had already forgotten about it. Now, one would say no one buys, laptops so frequently that this level of personalization is needed. But this is so relevant in today's day when you are buying, say, CPG kind of products. Every time you visit the website is recommending something, pushing you to buy something, making sure that you're clearing your cart. So that's a phenomenal way of how organizations are using data today just to kind of increase the level of personalization that they can do. And there are other things like, data is being used to strengthen internal teams. So all of the teams come together when it's like, a big launch that they are talking about, whether it's marketing, whether it's sales, whether it's operations. They use that data to build strategies for whether it's a very small product that they're looking at, very small launch that they're looking at. But that's how data is bringing internal teams together, and we no longer work in silos. We cannot work in silos because that data binds all these teams together. And of course, there are so many other examples of how data is being used in organizations today. Now, the very important point about data is that data can be useful only if it is collected, processed, and analyzed effectively. You can have tons and tons of data. The first problem that organizations faced when this digital era started was, what do I do with this data? A lot of organizations sat on gold mines. Data has become the second asset after humans for every organization. They sat on data not knowing what needs to be done. That's when organizations like us help our clients understand what they should do of that data. Now, this data needs to be, as I said, collected in a certain way, processed in a certain way, and analyzed in a certain way to get some insights or to be able to use it effectively. Now, who does all of this analysis? who are the key players or who are actually helping to kind of make sense of the data that you have. It's of course humans, and if it's of course the tools and platforms that are being used there. There are certain actions that need to be taken on your data. The way you have the data in the organization, it's not the way you can use it. So the actions generally that we take on data is data cleaning, data curation, interpretation, summarization, and all the tools that you see over here have a purpose of doing something that is related on the data so that we can come up with actionable insights. Now, a lot of times when we are inducting a lot of business analysts or when we are inducting a new batch of resources into the organization, I get a very common question as to why do we need to clean data? Data is data. As long as we have the data, any tool or any application should be able to work on the data. So I'll give you a simple example where when I say we need to take action on data, and one of them is data cleaning. So say, for example, you are a retail organization. You have, your presence is there on social media. You have an Instagram handle, you have a Facebook page, and you're talking to your consumers online. So if you have launched a specific product, a lot of companies kind of listen to what's happening to your product on social media as well. We use social listening platforms to kind of extract information about that brand on social media. And once we get that information, probably as a brand manager, I want to know what's the sentiment of my product. What are people talking about my product? As a product manager, I want to know if my product did well and are people looking out for a product 2.0, for example. So these are two very different use cases for the data that I have captured from social media. Now, when I say data cleaning, now people on social media today, millennials like you, are using a lot of emojis, images, social slang languages. So the cleaning part comes into picture where the data is captured, and then we are actually cleaning the data to remove images, emojis, all the slangs, and look at the insights in that data. That data is then curated. We make some interpretation out of it, and then we summarize what the insights that have come from that data. So that's an example where, a couple of teams will come together using the same data, will have two different objectives or will answer two different business problems from that data. And of course, tools like SAS, Excel, SQL, very popular tools today like R, Python, Hadoop are used for some sort of data mulling or some sort of data extraction that we need so that we can develop or deliver actionable insights to our clients or to our business. So that's how and who is kind of doing it. I want to spend some time and tell you the roles that have come up because of this digital evolution or because of so many formats of data that we are capturing today. Now, these are rather careers, these are roles, these are the data professions that exist in the organization or in the industry today. I'll walk you through all of them one by one and probably try and relate to an example as well. So the first one on the list is data engineers. Now, data engineers are responsible to create a structure or an architecture where they can capture the data and make sure that data makes sense and that data can be moved or passed on to the downstream teams. Now, again, let's take an example of an e-commerce company. These data engineers are required to set up the e-commerce website in a way that they apply analytics or they deploy analytics in a way that all the customer journey, navigation, all of the customer engagement happening on the website is captured accurately and passed on to the team who needs it. So that's a very critical role of a data engineer to kind of set up this infrastructure for the organization. The second role is of a data or a business analyst, as you may call it. Now, this role is someone who actually makes use of the data that the data engineers have captured. Now, imagine a scenario where, on your website, when I move from page A to page B, most of the people are dropping on page B. Now, there could be multiple reasons why they are dropping. So that's the role of the business analyst, to find out what's happening. They can be dropping because the page is not loading. They can be dropping because the page is not engaging enough. They can be dropping because it's a wrong page linked to something that you clicked on and thought would give you the information. The reasons can be ample. So that's their job, to find out what's happening. A lot of times organizations use these business analysts to also perform very day-to-day or ad hoc analysis. So say, for example, there's a marketing strategy meeting that's going on, and they really need to find out what was the demography that came on the website the most. Were they males, were they females? If they have that kind of a data, the business analysts will actually do a lot of these ad hoc analyses and give it back to the marketing team or whoever is asking for it. Now, the third in the list is data visualizers or business intellect visualizers, or analysts as we call it. Now, this is slightly a creative role which has come up, or I've seen that come up a lot in the last 4 or 5 years, where people are now tired of looking at data in a way that there are multiple PowerPoint slides, just data after data, data after data, and not really coming to the insights, or not really being very intuitive in the way it's presented. So the data visualizers' job is to actually be creative, to share the data in a way that it's intuitive and can be easily absorbed. A lot of times we use data visualizers to make different levels of insight presentations. So say, for example, you are a C-level executive and you know the 4 KPIs that you are going after for your business. It's the job of the data visualizer to present those 4 KPIs in the way to the management that they can just look at it and be able to take certain actions or decisions based on what you are presenting. So all of the storytelling, all of it being intuitive, is the job of this data visualizer. Now, the next one is data scientist. Data scientists are usually called the gems of the team. That's because data scientists use data in a way that they can do a lot of machine learning, build models, algorithms, to be used for whether it's predictive forecasting, recommendations, and eventually be able to build data models for the company. So these people are actually the ones behind the pop-ups that you get when you go back to the website, or the recommendations that you are getting when you go back to buy the product, and so on. So that's really the job of the data scientist. And the data scientist will use all of the data that the data engineers have extracted. They will work with the business analysts to see what kind of queries that they were reporting to the marketing teams, and so on. And the next one is an application architect, very similar to the data engineer, just trying to make sure components like infrastructure, interface are rightly set for the organization. And quantitative analysts are people who come from a mathematical or statistical background, helping to kind of do modeling, risk evaluations and assessments, especially in the finance domain. So talking about personal experience, I think for about 6-7 years ago, none of these job profiles were available in an organization like ours. But if you go on to the careers page of our company today, you'll see all of these positions out there. And I think it has been because we want to support our clients to be able to give and deliver these information to them faster, and make the actions or make the insightful, actionable insights ready for our clients. So these are definitely some of the roles you should expect when you are in the analytics domain. Now, depending upon your liking, depending upon your strengths, depending upon the skills that you need to acquire, these roles are not going to die. These roles we are always short of people who can deliver to these roles. Now let's talk about some of the skills that these roles need. Of course, you need an excellent data acumen. When I say data acumen, you need to understand the data. You should be able to interpret the data. You need to know what the data needs to give you. You need to know some bit of programming, because languages like R, Python, even SQL, you write macros in SQL, that needs some level of programming that you need. Mathematics and statisticians background, that's excellent because that's what most of the times you want to derive from the data. We touched upon visualization, that's more on the creative side of things. So we've literally hired graphic designers who were, doing website applications or who were doing website interfaces in our visualization team, who can help shrink the amount of data but not lose the essence of the data. Of course, then you need business understanding, aptitude to ask the right questions, because only if you're able to ask the questions, you can interpret what's needed and go back and work on the data to deliver to the objective that's needed. And of course, communication, needless to say, is a key in any of the roles that you do. So these are some of the skills that you need to acquire or need to have when you move into the role of analytics or move into a career that requires you to do job roles that we just discussed. Shukriti, should we take a break here and see if anyone from the audience has any questions, given that we ran through some roles and skills?
Sure. I would encourage if people could ask a few questions at this point, because after this we'll be talking about the salaries, the kind of new roles that have come up in data and analytics field, and then we'll also transition to what Smith is about in this whole scheme of things. So if anybody has a few questions, yes, okay. Abhishek Nahar has a question. He's a finance minor from Plain University, hence I'm not actively studying tech, but understand its relevance today and have a fair understanding of ML and DL. My question for you is there a roadmap to learn data science? I think this will resonate with a lot of people. What are some applications of data science in finance and how I can apply them to this domain?
Sure. So, Abhishek, I think where we are today, I know for sure that there are a lot of organizations, universities who are mapping, who are literally creating courses in the field of data analytics, so that there is a trajectory for all of you to start with. A lot of data scientists who exist in the organizations or in the industry today don't really come with an educational background of being a data scientist. It's the virtue of what they've been doing, and it's the virtue of the role that they had. It's because the organization moved in that direction that they suddenly kind of, started picking up these skills and doing it on their own. So there's absolutely, courses available today. Organizations like us are looking for universities who can give us people who come with certain background, who come with certain information, understanding of what's expected from the roles when they come into analytics. That helps organizations like us reduce the learning curve or reduce the time that we need to invest on them. And they are like, they come in, they train, and they're immediately effective on their jobs. So you should definitely evaluate if data science is a field that you want to do. I'm pretty sure that there are curriculums and courses and universities out there who can do that, because that will be the next expectation from organizations like ours, to go in and hire people who directly come with some acumen or background like those.
Okay. We have another question. I hope, Abhishek, that was clear. Another question from Sriram is, can you please tell the difference between big data and data science?
Big data and data science. Okay. So big data is the capability of an organization to process the data that they have. So in a way where I'm saying that, let's take an example of a retail website again. Whatever you're trying to track, whatever you're trying to do, big data is allowing you to process the data in the way you want. Previously, there were no systems, or the technology wasn't enough to process the magnitude of data that they are preparing today. Big data allows you to do that. Data science has a slightly different orientation, where data science is allowing to say what big data should do. So you give a data scientist or you give someone an objective that, I have this piece of data, I want to do XYZ from the data. That's when data science comes in, and these two teams will work together. One will process the data for you, one will tell you what processing needs to be done. So they work in harmony, but that's a very, I would say, candid representation of what both the teams do and how the organizations look at it today.
Sure. Sriram, I hope that answered your question. We'll take one more question and then we'll move on to the presentation. From Shreya, she's asking, how would you differentiate deep learning and machine learning? And from which point one can start learning about this?
Sure. So deep learning and machine learning, I'll give you an example of what we are doing in our organization today. So I am a product lead of a product which does parsing. Now, when I say parsing, we develop a lot of market research surveys for our clients. Now, one of the things that we are doing with our product is, instead of looking at a questionnaire that comes from our clients and having our team directly work on the questionnaire manually, we want our product, or we want our engine, to kind of be able to parse that document and give us a ready script that the teams can use on. We are trying to drive efficiency through the entire process by eliminating a lot of manual work that exists. Now, deep learning and machine learning, the first step that we use is machine learning, where we are training the machine to read patterns, to identify, the ways someone writes a question. Now, that's the first step where you can be 60 to 70% accurate. I'm still stating a very high number there through machine learning. But deep learning comes in when you want it to take decisions for you. Deep learning involves a lot of neural networks. It involves, that's another beast, that's another mammoth that we are dealing with. But that's when it will take decisions for you. So say, for example, a lot of deep learning is applied today when you're doing curation of content. So when you're reading content and when you know the content is wrong, you're using actually deep learning to kind of give you a recommendation of what it needs to look like. So that's the curation of neural networks that come together. So those are two fields that work together, but you start with machine learning and then move on to deep learning in any phase of, a product development, or in any phase of you building any application of such.
Great. I think, Poonam, we should get back to the presentation. There are a lot of questions flowing in, and I can see that. So I would just request everyone to keep typing their questions. We'll address it all at the end of the session. And we can finish it as soon as possible.
So, great. Coming back to the presentation, all of you, we just looked at the roles that have evolved because of the digital era, some of the skills that these roles need. And I'm sure the next slide is going to be very interesting for all of you, that ultimately, if I'm in this career, what kind of a remuneration should I expect? What kind of, what are these organizations paying these roles today? We don't want you to hold us to the number that we are showing on the slide right now. That's a report that we pulled out from the internet. Every organization will prioritize these roles depending upon the objective that they are trying to go after. So these remunerations will differ from organization to organization, but we thought this would be a good, perspective for you to look at and think about where these roles are and what kind of remuneration should you expect once you are in this analytics industry. Okay, I will also move on to kind of talking about, the opportunity that exists today. So one of the things that, we are seeing is a lot of, Internet of Things. We are seeing predictive analytics. We are seeing blockchain. So many things are going on in the industry today. One opportunity or one growth or one next step that the industry is already headed to is sports analytics. I was reading a lot about sports analytics when I came to know that, the Australian cricket team was one of the first who actually used analytics to better their game. They use a lot of data from previous matches, from who played what, which player is playing in which form to kind of improve their own game. Then I came across another article where in the field of tennis, Roger Federer and Rafa Nadal are actually using analytics not to improve their game, but to improve their fitness. So the data that they are tracking is actually telling them that you need to be fitter by X%. You need to be able to run between the courts to kind of chase the ball by this level. And they're actually using analytics to improve their fitness and hence their game. So all of these things are, the new things that are happening in the industry today. And you can see some facts that we've put on the slide, which are pure opportunities. By 2022, this industry is going to grow multifold, and this is the largest growth that any industry has seen today. And it's a phenomenal number. Nobody has seen this number in a lot many years. According to the Bureau of US Statistics, 11.5 million jobs will be created just in the field of analytics by 2026. And I think the pandemic has been a great example to kind of validate this, because this is still the highest sought after job, despite so many organizations shutting down, businesses slowing down. I myself am recruiting data analytics or data analysts today because we want to be able to predict for our clients what should they do, what should the business strategy be, and how is the growth going to be of the economy. So like I said, while we have ourselves used a lot of statistics to come up with these numbers, pandemic is a great example that's saying that these jobs are still relevant. And while there has been an overall slowdown, the slowdown is really not in this area. So very personally, I've been very happy to be a part of this journey. It didn't exist when I started, but I had the opportunity to be or to ride along with the journey as it evolved. And I think it's all in a platter for you. It's just about you getting to make the right choice and to be a part of this journey with us as well. So with that, these were some of the things that I had to share as part of the presentation. I'll hand it over to Shubkriti for the next part of it.
Great. Poonam, thank you so much. That was a pretty extensive snapshot that you gave on how data transformation has really changed the business, and similarly the career choices that have changed as well, right? And you said it right that things are on a platter right now. There are a lot of avenues where people can go and look and train themselves, upskill themselves, and then get on to these technologies, right? Even in our audience, I see a lot of people who are looking to transition to the data side of things, and it's a new world. It requires new skills. However, we, like me and Manish, when we talk to people, when we talk to early career professionals, students, they are amazed by this scale and the growth of the data that is happening, and it's really difficult to catch up, right? And that is one of the reasons why the Smith School of Business at University of Maryland has been offering these sort of courses, which are accelerated courses in Masters in Business Analytics and Masters of Information Sciences, which can give you that sort of skill set, in a very limited amount of time, with that world-class faculty that we have to, that we have in place with the university. So I would just quickly like to share the presentation of Smith, and then we can get back to the questions. Right. So start your data-driven journey at Smith School of Business. Guys, my name is Shubkirti. I am the Assistant Director of Recruitment Collaboration at the Smith School. As Manish told you earlier, we started out our operations in India in 2019 November, and this has been the first year of operations. So we are continuously engaging with a lot of graduate students on different platforms to tell them about what kind of value we can add when you are a Smith alumni. The first thing on why you should come to Smith, right? The most important factor, I think, is the location that is based out of Washington. The university has a lot of companies, a lot of jobs in that area, which are really into these upcoming fields of data analytics, right? So if you see in the screen left side, you can see the name of companies, KPMG, Ernst & Young, there is NASA, there's Lockheed Martin, World Bank, PwC. So all sort of companies which are really, really relevant, which are really big, which are doing some really good work, are located in the vicinity, right? We have world-class faculty. There are different centers of excellence at Smith School of Business, which are doing some groundbreaking sort of work in terms of data analytics in different applications, in healthcare, in stock markets, in different kind of social initiatives. So all these faculties we have the leverage of. There is a whole lot of experiential learning which is built into the curriculum. So students will have to practice, navigating real life complexities, which will help them hit the ground. There is a very, very strong community of TERPs, how we address the Smiths alums. We are 66,000 plus people around the world, and regionally we are around 30,000 odd people. So there is a very strong chance that if you are located out of Washington, and if you are looking out for some good positions in and around that area, you will find somebody who is a TERP and who is at a commanding position at these industries. And the most important part, we lead fearlessly. We have a great amount of entrepreneurial spirit. UMD was in fact ranked in the top 10 for innovation and entrepreneurship education for 6th straight year. And that tells a lot about what we are as a school and what we believe in, in terms of research and in terms of entrepreneurship. Smith Research is ranked number 2, the faculty wise. This was the Economist ranking in 2018, and ranked number 17 in the world in the UT Dallas top 100 business school rankings. So we are ranking pretty highly there. We have a great MS finance course, which is ranked number 2nd in the US schools. Based on the research that we are doing right now, the research at Smith website features every research article that has been published in the Financial Times top 50 journal. Right on the right side, you can see the page snapshot of research at Smith. You can also visit the website. You can see the latest research that is happening at Smith School of Business. In COVID times, we have done a lot of things to help medium and small scale industries in and out of Maryland and in US to reboot themselves. So that has been a very, very big area that we are working on. Emerging markets is another research area that we really deal into. These are the few courses that I want to talk about very briefly. When we are talking about the data analytics part or the data science part, how do you build those skill sets, right? So Master of Science in Business Analytics is like a 3-semester program that we offer. And you can see the key concepts that are explored are artificial intelligence, business value of big data, digital marketing strategies, machine learning, price optimization. So these are the real-time things that you will come to explore in the field through this business analytics coursework. And it is just 3 semesters, right? It's just 1.5 years when you will sort of prime yourself to be at the best places in the industry. There's Master of Information Sciences, which is a different sort of a program, which focuses more on the business aspects and the analytical aspects. There's Master of Supply Chain Management, and there is also Master of Science in Marketing Analytics, which is a very, very interesting field right now. Again, a lot of people might be interested into digital marketing, how analytics and marketing work together, how machine learning is built into marketing initiatives and all of that. So these are the 4 like prime courses that we have, apart from many other courses, in our portfolio. These are again STEM enabled courses, so that helps you stay in the US, extending your OPT by 24 months. So if you are interested in any of the things that Poonam talked about, in terms of the job roles, in terms of the career growth, I think these are some of the programs that you can look into. And we are running our deadlines right now with the admissions. So I would encourage you to look at the website. Some of the companies that that come to the campus and hire people are some of the top companies of the world, really. Siemens is there, DHL is there, IBM is there, and a lot of them are in the Washington area. So there is no need to go out really, in the US and then seek out for jobs, but somebody will be helping you out, in the networking process. We have a great career services center at the university, helping the students, helping the masters and the MBA students. So that can also be possible, right? So this is just a brief overview that I wanted to present to you. And this goes in well with whatever we are trying to achieve through the presentation of where the data is right now, what are the career choices do you have, and then how do you sort of acquire those skill sets. So if you are going through these courseworks, maybe you are in a position probably 1 or 2 years down the line to be a data scientist, to be earning those salary figures that we have reflected upon. So thank you so much. And if you have any admissions questions, I and Manish would like to take that. These are the email addresses for us. You can completely reach out to us. And I'll give the platform back to Poonam and to have some questions if there are. And then we can, sort of end this presentation. Good. So we have a few questions. We are really over time limit, so we'll be able to take probably a couple of them. So the first question is from Anshul. After 11 years of experience in IT, how feasible it is to go into business analytics, keeping the future prospects in mind?
So Anshul, it really depends on what you have been doing in IT. Since you are in IT, I'm assuming you have context of maybe programming or context of really actually working with data for business solutions. So I would say the first best next step for you is to actually see if there are opportunities within your organizations through an IJP or a team that works closely with your IT team to kind of explore those opportunities. And like I said, Anshul, these roles have been created over the past few years. People who have already been part of IT or who have been doing stuff with data have gradually, automatically, by the virtue of the change in direction, have become those data scientists or business analysts. We didn't have those roles before. So people who were doing that are actually going ahead and doing that right now. So I don't see a reason why that shift can't be made. Like I said, probably the first best choice is to look for an IJP within the organization because you've been part of it and you know the business so well.
Right. Anshul, I hope you got the answer. Abhinav asks, I was wondering to do masters and want a job as a data analyst. So which is the course I should go, MS in DA or DS, or first should I go with a master's in CS? Abhinav, I would like to take that question. Working as a data analyst, it does not require you really to have a computer science degree. And I think Poonam will back me up on that. It's not just about the technical skill set, but also about the storytelling angles, the kind of thought process that you have. So once you are confident and once you are upskilling in those areas where sort of programming is required, maybe Python, maybe Hadoop, R programming, you don't really need to go in those areas where sort of algorithmic things are required, unless you are transitioning to probably a machine learning engineer, for example. So to be a data analyst, I think an easier alternative would be to take up a master's in business analytics sort of a coursework and then proceed with that. Great. we are really above the time limit. So I think this is the last question. How this course helps for mechanical engineering with 9 years in mechanical field, which course exactly suits? I'm not sure, Guru, which course are you talking about? Okay, hello ma'am, I recently passed out in 2020. Is it possible to get admission for masters? Else it will require any. Shilpita, we do not require, typically a work experience for a master's degree. So if you have the required knowledge, if you have sort of the inclination and that you can show in the statement of purpose, I think that is more than enough for us to make a decision on whether you should be admitted to the program or not. Probably one last question we can take is from I saw this question which was really interesting. Okay, Mukesh, how do you see this field, data analytics, let's say 4 or 5 years from now? So that's probably the closing in question that we'll take up, and then we'll end this webinar.
So, like I said, when I actually spoke on my last slide, you saw the opportunities that we presented. And these opportunities are not just numbers or figures. Every organization probably needs these roles. The pandemic was an example, like I said. And we also spoke about the new areas where this field is heading to. So right now we have these Internet of Things, blockchain, all of these are exponentially going to grow. AI today may not be the most mature version of AI that we are seeing, but as these technologies are advancing, in a couple of years, there will be so many roles related to AI that will come into picture because AI will only mature from here. And this industry is not dying soon. I mean, unless there is as big as a revolution that comes up, the way we saw the data revolution, this is here to stay. Sports analytics is an example that I gave you where people are actually using data to improve fitness levels of their teams or of what they are doing. So it's only going to evolve, and it's only going to be as innovative as you can get with what you can do with the data. So probably that's the closing on where does this take you next.
Thank you, Poonam. Manish, your closing thoughts?
I think I had fun. Thank you very much, Poonam, for this brilliant perspective and the sense of the opportunity. Really appreciate. Thank you very much. Thanks, Shubkirti. You drove it very well. Sincerely.
Thank you, Manish. Thank you, and thank you, Poonam, so much for being very kind to accept this offer for the webinar. I know it's a Saturday evening, and I really want to be mindful of your and everybody else's time. I would hand back the platform to Jamboree for their closing thoughts.
Thank you, Jamboree.
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Poonam, Shubkriti, Manish. I think I also had fun, and I gained lots of insights, especially when it comes from a practitioner. It really helps. Okay,
right.
Especially about the roles of data engineers, analysts, visualizers, scientists. I think the way Poonam kind of explained those roles, it gives clarity, because otherwise from the outside it all seems all lumped together, but it just gives that clarity and helps people to think about what they actually want to do and how they want to prepare themselves. So thank you all for being here today on this Saturday evening, and hope to get many more seminars and speakers to you as we go forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Bye.